Hi everybody, Allie here with ABC Bead Supply, and I'm here today to share with you a tutorial on how to make adjustable leather cord necklaces using 20mm acrylic beads, leather cord, and some tarnish resistant spacer beads. I like to use these paint palette bead trays to design in when creating necklaces, because you can put them around in each well holds the 20mm bead nicely, and you can put them in the loop to plan out and map out your design. They work really well for that, and we do have these trays available on our website at abcbeadsupply.com. So you can see how they're laid out and then the final product. And we have restocked a lot of beads this week that are really suitable for adjustable necklaces. So a bunch of our rhinestone color 20mm beads have restocked. These blossom printed beads have restocked. The splatters restocked. We've got the patriotic confetti rhinestones in for the season. These beach ball beads are actually in our clearance rack going on right now, and perfect for the 4th of July, Memorial Day, all of those holidays coming up. So this is just how I do and go about the design process. Everything, I'm always putting nine beads on a necklace, so that you've got kind of one center bead and then 4 on each side. The pattern style that I really like to use is picking a focal bead. So in that case, these chunky glitter beads are the focal points. And, you know, we do carry silicone focal beads that I've done on necklaces, you know, up on the side. But you can just use the 20mm acrylic beads as your focal point. And then I start with those, and then I design from there. So those were the ones that I selected for this, and then I grabbed and paired other beads accordingly to coordinate. We've restocked the lilac iridescent and the lilac faceted. Lots of great restocks in subtle colors happened this week in our acrylic beads. So that's where we got to from this. Then once you have selected your focal bead, so this one, the splatter bead, the light and bright splatter bead is the focal, and then here's the translation into the necklace. The placement that I like to use when I'm designing with these, actually, this is placed off from what I typically do. I meant to move those around a bit. So let's change that so you can see it. I strung this one incorrectly. Funny that I picked this one to show that for. I like to take the focal beads. So let's see, I've placed them there. Let's go to this one, and since I strung this one correctly, I like to take whatever is the focal bead for the necklace. I like to take it and put it as the second bead down on one side and the third bead down on the other. And then that just keeps things from being completely center and having things being completely parallel. It just hangs nicely that way. So this is the one that I strung wrong, and I guess that's a good visual. When you hang it like that and it's exactly the same on both sides, it's a little bit too linear. So it looks nice when you offset them a little bit. So that's what I like to use as the placement for the necklaces. And then we've done that same thing here with these being the focal point bead, design around that. Those blossoms were the focal point. So choose your focal bead. The rhinestones work great for that. Chunky glitter beads, printed beads, those all work wonderful for your focals. Once you've got your necklace laid out, and it's going to come time to stringing it. So you're going to take a piece of leather cord. We have a huge variety of different colors of leather, and they're all available by the yard on our website at abcbeadsupply.com. So the yard is more than enough to make a necklace with. We have 2 measurements that we typically use for necklaces: 28 inches for 0 to 5-year-olds, so your little ones, your little kids necklaces, and then 34 inches for 6 to adult. And because they're adjustable, you have a lot of wiggle room with sizing on that. So the knots just slide to meet the ends to make the necklace short. and then they can slide up to make it longer. It's really important that you don't touch the knots on your necklace. So when you're adjusting them, you just want to make sure that you're always keeping a little bit of a space so that you can actually physically move and slide those knots and get your fingers in between. You don't want to get them so close that you can't get that leverage. So if I'm making this necklace for an adult, I think I might make one of these for myself for the 4th of July parade. You're just going to shorten, trim a little bit off the end of that leather so that you've got that 34 inches to work with. Then I've already sprinkled some in the middle here. These are our tarnish resistant stainless steel silver spacers in the 4mm. We have them available in gold too. They're stainless steel, so they're going to resist tarnishing. They're not going to oxidize over time and get just, you know, that yucky look to them, which can also erode leather. So they're a nice high quality spacer, and they have a nice large hole. So it fits the 1.5mm leather cord that we carry perfectly. So I'm just going to go through and add all of the beads on this leather in the order that I've laid them out, alternating a spacer and a 20mm acrylic bead. Okay, once you've got all of your beads on, you're going to hold the two ends of leather together and then pull all the rest of the beads down to the bottom, and you're going to get them centered. So you want that middle bead to be right in the middle, and then check to make sure that your ends are still lined up with that bead centered. Then you're going to take the cord and make an overhand knot, and you're going to just shimmy it right up next to that spacer bead. And then you're going to come around to the other side, and you're going to, so this is a motion that's really hard to see in video, but I'm pushing downwards with my left hand firmly, very firmly, while tying this other overhand knot and shimming it next to the other spacer bead. So even right now, as I'm lifting up, you can't necessarily see me doing it, but I'm pulling down on that left side. And the purpose for that is to keep all these beads nice and taut so you don't have any slack. You don't want to get done knotting these and then have them have a gap where you can see the leather down here. You want them to be nice and snug, and you want your knots to be nice and snug at the top so that there's no movement in the beads. Over time, they can settle a little bit, so you want to start with them really nice and strong. If during that knotting process, your leather ends up not exactly the same length, you're going to want to trim any overage so that you've got a perfectly centered beading piece, and then even knots at the top. Then you're going to take the leather on the left, and you're going to wrap twice around your finger and go like you're making a knot, but you don't want to pull it snug. So this is the look that you're going to have. You're going to have kind of like a pretzel. So there's a double loop that crosses right at that top. And then you're going to put your leather end in, and you're just going to kind of roll that knot forward so that you're not wasting much leather. If you just pull straight immediately, you could end it all the way up here, and then you'd have a lot to trim. So you just want to make it so you've got just a tiny little bit of leather there, and then you're going to take a pair of pliers and you're going to give that a pull to tighten that knot. Don't trust pulling it with just your hands. You always get a little bit more leverage when using pliers. And it's really important that your knot doesn't come undone. So that's going to give you a bit of extra leverage. And then when you trim, you want to just leave about 1/4 of an inch. You don't want to trim too close and risk having the leather pop back up through that knot. So about 1/4 of an inch at the bottom of that knot. And then you're going to come through over to the other side, And then this time you already have a piece of string here. So rather than making the double loop around your finger, you're going to make that loop around your finger with this piece of cord underneath it as well. So 2 little loops, and then you're going to cross over and tuck it underneath. And then you see how those 2 pieces of leather kind of naturally crisscross? You want to just take your finger and roll that over so that it's not crisscrossing. You don't want to knot it like this. The same goes for the other side too. You don't want to knot it with that cross in it. You want to move that loop over so that it is just a nice loop side by side without the only crisscross that you should see is where that loop intersects. All right, so we've got that little end to work with. Pull it tight with some pliers and give it a trim. And then you've got your necklace. So it's adjusting great. And there you have your finished piece. So we've got 4 designs that we've put together for you, featuring different beads that have just restocked to the website at abcbeadsupply.com, because again, they're all great ones for necklaces. And we have photos of all of these necklaces along with supply lists to duplicate each of them over on our website blog at abcbeadsupply.com. This particular bead is part of the clearance sale, so it's only available while supplies last, but our clearance sale is 30 to 80% off select items, and then right now there's an additional 20% off that comes off of that because we got to clear it out. So hop on over to the site and get the goodies that you need to duplicate these necklaces today.